Coming from NetPicks headquarters, it's the Day Trading Authority with Mark Soberman and Brian Short.
All right, welcome to the NetPicks Day Trading Authority podcast. This is Mark Soberman, and I really appreciate you guys joining us today. I am a bit under the weather, so I have no idea how my typical golden radio voice is going to sound in this sickly condition. But the good news is I'm always joined by my partner, Brian Short, who definitely has a voice made for a podcast. Brian, are you with me?
I'm with you today, Mark, and if I remember right, the very first episode we did, I was the one that was not feeling well, and it was very evident in my voice. I don't know. I think you might be trying to drum up some excuses here. You've been playing hooky from trading or what? I mean, you don't have to do that if you don't want to.
Well, you sounded so amazing when, you brought your sickly self to the last few podcasts that I did get a little bit envious, a little bit jealous, and I just was like, you know what, I'm going down that road. I'm going to sound like crap too. And, hopefully these people will listen anyway. But, I do apologize. Hopefully this sounds okay, and you guys can kind of hear what we're trying to say. Contrary to what, Brian, his accusations, I actually have been trading. Trading is one of those things. It's kind of hard to have an excuse not to trade even when you're sick. How much effort does it take to sit at your chair and push a key or push your mouse button? Now, as for thinking clearly, that's a whole other story. But the actual function of trading is not too difficult even when you're sick. I don't know if I recommend it, but it's certainly something that you can do. So as always, we definitely appreciate everybody joining us today. There have been other podcasts. If this is the first Day Trading Authority podcast you've had a chance to listen to, well, you've missed out. So you need to go back and you need to go ahead and listen to some of our prior, do you call them issues? I don't know what you call them, prior podcasts. And you can do that through iTunes. That's a great way to do it. In fact, you can subscribe in iTunes. And then whenever you download your favorite new music, lo and behold, when we do one of these podcasts, it will magically appear on your iPhone or your iPod. Of course, if you're on Android or a computer, then by all means you can go to our website at netpicks.com, which hopefully most of you know how it's spelled, but netpicks.com/podcast. And no, it's not Netflix. That's what my mom always likes to say. Oh, Mark, he works for Netflix. It's like, no. It's NetPicks. So anyway, just to clarify that. So actually, I'd probably have a lot more money if I did work for Netflix. Well, these days, things aren't so chipper for them either, but that's a whole other story. And we don't really talk too much about stocks here. We talk about day trading. So what we're going to do a little bit is using me and Brian, try to talk a bit about some of our recent trading, any stories, things that we can kind of, convey to you, some recommendations, things that we've encountered. Talk about what we kind of consider as a pertinent current event. And one of the things that I want to talk about today a little bit was trading when traveling, because that's a question that we get a lot, and it's something that we have to also do quite a bit, whether it's for leisure or for professional, and there's some definite things you can do to make that happen. When you're a day trader, you're kind of not going to make money if you're not in the markets, but how can you actually leave your cave once in a while? It's kind of important to do that. Then we always have a popular section of the podcast that we call Tales from the Stupid, and that's where, well, usually Brian talks about dumb things that he's done in his trading over the last few weeks, and normally I'll make something up because typically my section of this is the genius section. That's usually when I have lots to talk about, and then Brian usually run out of things to say in that section. I'll let him, I'm sure, counter this in a moment. And then the last key piece, hold on, is we're going to have an interview of Chris from FXTradingReviews.com, which we're pretty excited about because Chris is going to talk all about Forex robots, the good stuff, the bad stuff, the hype, the fluff, the crooks. So if you're at all interested in Forex or day trading Forex and this whole robot thing is up your alley, he's going to talk about it in a very frank, blunt, and honest way. So Brian, you had something to say.
Well, you noticed, for those listening, how Mark just kept going and going and going there and not even giving me a chance to rebuttal. So I guess we'll just have to compare stupid remarks today versus mine, so we'll see.
Exactly. All right, yeah, we'll have our usual competition in that area. So Brian, the first thing did want to cover a little bit is we always like to kind of start these off because we are actually amazingly real traders. We're not just educators, and we don't just talk about trading. You know, that always kind of irritates me, people who talk about trading, but I know full well they actually don't get involved in the markets, because you know what, it's actually a lot easier to talk about trading hypothetically like a professor than it is to actually get down and dirty. But the good news here is I trade every single day virtually, and when I'm traveling, I'll talk to you about in a moment how we trade on the road. But I think I mentioned this before, and it's going to change month to month, but right now the markets that I'm most active in definitely are the metals, which when I say metals typically means gold, maybe silver, oil futures, and this is mostly futures on the day trading side, the DAX futures, and the Russell E-mini futures. That's kind of where I've been for the most part, and I know Brian, when he talks about it, I'm sure will be something similar, maybe some differences overall. So for a day trader, I am a huge fan of futures trading. I am also trading on a daily basis the Forex, but actually I mostly do swing trading in the Forex at this point. I have gone through phases where I've done a lot of day trading in the Forex, but I just get better results in the futures because I don't have these fixed spreads. I don't have to worry about the fact that there's no centralized market. I don't have to worry about my brokers freezing up when the markets are on the move, which always seems to happen when you day trade. So on Forex, I'm a huge fan of swing trading. I'm not as sold lately on day trading the Forex, but if you are going to, the Euro US dollar and the Euro yen are pretty good choices for day trading Forex, and maybe the pound US coming up after that. But when I swing trade Forex, gosh, I open up a whole world of markets. I could do the pound CAD, the Euro Aussie, the Euro CAD, the Aussie yen, stuff I would never consider day trading. So that's really why I like that. The other thing I want to mention in my personal experience since the first of the year is my DAX futures, which if you don't know what the DAX is, it's the German stock market, and there's something called the DAX, D-A-X. You can also trade something. It trades on the Eurex, by the way, EUREX.com. It's not the right market for small-time traders, real small accounts. It's 25 euro dollars per point. It moves fast. You don't trade this market with $5,000. You got to start with a little bigger account. But if I had to choose between the DAX and the Russell E-mini, which I normally trade at the same time, these days I would definitely trade the DAX. I mean, my personal trading, I've probably been winning about 75% of the time on the DAX, which is really solid. Gives you a really nice return. On the Russell, I've been closer to that 60%, 62%. So it could be temporary. Maybe something's going to change, but that's what I've been seeing. And then if you were to pin me down on gold versus silver, I would probably say if you maybe pick one, I personally would pick gold. I like the slippage better, and the movement, in my opinion, has kind of returned after a bit of a lull. So that's kind of what I've been involved in. Brian, kind of, maybe same thing. Let the people know kind of, where the action's at for you.
Yeah, very similar story. And Mark, you and I trade together in the mornings, which is very beneficial to have a partner. We get on a GoToMeeting and we're bantering back and forth. So I trade a lot of the same markets that Mark does. My specific
now
focus...
let's just say, I got to interrupt, let's just say we're not sharing like bagel halves or anything, okay? We are.
No, we're not
we're trading
doing
together,
that.
but we're not together.
Right. We're at physically different locations, exactly.
Exactly. He's in Ohio, I'm in Texas. All right, sorry. I just wanted to clarify for the audience.
All right, very good. So again, my favorites are futures, again, like Mark, specifically trading gold and silver. We start that around 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time and trade for a couple of hours on those markets. Like Mark mentioned, if I had to lean towards one of the metals or the other, I think gold is probably for that newer trader, maybe a market that you might want to consider. Silver has, it's a great market to trade, but it doesn't have the same liquidity. There aren't as many contracts on each side, so you got to be a little careful there. Slippage becomes an issue, and you got to have that built into your trade plan. So just some things to be aware of there. And then also trade the Russell. Big fan of the Russell, and we trade that for an hour and a half in the morning part of the market, and have had some really good success with that market. Now volatility finally has kind of woken up just yesterday, and our good friend Fed Chairman Bernanke spewed his speak to the market yesterday, and both the silver market and the gold markets were just crazy. In fact, on the call yesterday, I was just like, I was bursting out with what was going on here because the markets were just flying, and it was a good time to participate in some of those moves. So activity has definitely picked up, and it's a good time if you have a strategy that gives you an edge to engage the markets, because that activity is picking up again. So, Mark, those are a few of the things I do in my everyday trading.
Yeah, one little tip too that I'll give, because you talked about like when the markets go a little crazy after news, which has been what we've been seeing or something like that. 2 minutes is kind of like the golden number I found in day trading. If you can, when your charts go nuts, you'll know. If you can wait about 2 full minutes and then reassess, that's the time typically you can get in and actually get some real nice additional trades. Be very careful when that news announcement comes out, those first 2 minutes. It's very hard to execute. It almost goes too quickly. I don't care what trading system you're using. I can't even think fast enough to keep up with all the bars. So just a little suggestion if we see the volatility pick up and stay. It may just be a little aberration for a day or two, but that's really served us very well in the past. Not starting right at a straight hour like when Brian mentions we start at 10 Eastern. It's actually more like 10:02. If we're doing the markets there, we just try to wait those things out a little bit. So yeah, great. That's all good information. So something that comes up a lot is you guys day trade, and I like to travel, or I travel for work. How can I trade when I travel? So I've got some little tips for you. This won't be some long-winded topic, but this is something that I've been doing for probably as long as a lot of people have. Because when we started NetPicks back in 1996, it was dial-up modems. That's literally how you accessed the internet, if you were even on the internet. And actually originally we did everything via fax, so you can only imagine how things were back in the early days. So the way things are now is amazing. So whenever I think to complain for a moment about technology or something going down, I remind myself of what it was like back in 1998, and I'm like, okay, we're really lucky to be living in the era we are, at least when it comes to these things. But I prefer swing trading to day trading if I'm going to travel. It is definitely more challenging to maintain your day trading on the road. I do think it is possible. The thing that's worked for me has been when I travel with, let's say, a laptop or an iPad, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I do much better when I don't try to stuff my laptop, and of course you can't even do this on like an iPad or a tablet, with, let's say, TradeStation and my broker and my order entry and all those kind of things. I much prefer to just count on my internet connection through go to my PC or log me in, or there's even something called that I've never used but a lot of people swear by, called splashtop.com. And most of these are for Android, for iPhone, iPad, whatever. And you can access your home computer, whether it's a Mac or a Windows-based, it doesn't matter. I personally rely on the power of the system in your home or office and not, use your local for trading. Too many things go wrong. Of course, you're counting on your internet staying constant with your iPad or your notebook, but I personally have had much better success doing that than trying to replicate everything on my laptop. So for me, go to my PC, log me in, or Splashtop would be what I would highly recommend. And then you have to have, of course, a way to get to that home trading computer or your office trading computer. And of course, you can use an iPad. The problem with an iPad is you don't really have mouse control. It's very hard to day trade without a mouse. The touchscreen and the swiping just doesn't cut it. You can be fine on swing trading, but I think if you're going to day trade, you really have to have a laptop. So a laptop with one of those applications can work very well. Just kind of bear in mind a few things. I personally like the MacBook Air, but I tie directly back into my Windows computer back at my home office. So I just like it because of the size, the durability, the fact that it always works, it comes up quickly. But you have to have a stable internet connection. So a lot of people count on their hotel having like a great Wi-Fi or a great internet, and sometimes it's good, but you're sharing that with dozens or hundreds of people, and it can definitely have problems. So I always recommend, if you're going to trade from the road, that you make sure that you have a hotspot. Get one of those Verizon MiFis, get one from AT&T or whomever, have it be an external. A lot of times you can get 4G these days, which is awesome. You can even, with your Android phone or your iPhone, you can turn those typically into a hotspot, and that can work well as well. I kind of like to have a separate one and kind of keep the phone separate. I'm always worried about battery and that sort of thing. You cannot go wrong with, a separate external modem, but I realize it's an additional expense. But, $50 a month, if you travel a lot, it's definitely well worth it. And there's other cards available out there as well. A lot of you might be listening in, Europe and elsewhere, and may have different options available to you. But to me, a laptop, go to my PC Log Me and Splashtop, a good modem connection, you can definitely do it. I'd probably steer you towards swing trading, but if you're going to be gone for a while and you can day trade, it's definitely possible. Just kind of realize it's not going to be nowhere, near replicating the environment when you're in home office. So be careful, overall. So I don't know, Brian, anything to add on that?
That's all really, really good information, Mark, and I reiterate what you've said already. The only thing I'll add is that if you are away and you're on vacation, take a vacation. Don't feel like you have to trade. I know that it's a temptation, but take a break from it. The worst thing you could do is try to trade remotely, especially if you're an active intraday trader. And what if you have a bad day? They happen, right? It's going to ruin the rest of your day on your vacation. So my point there is, take a break away. We need a break away from whatever our jobs are, whether it's trading or any other job that you might be involved in. So just, take that time away, take a break, and the markets will be there when you get back.
Yeah, it's a good point. For a number of years, I would travel and I would wake up early ahead of the family, and I would, go out to the, little kitchen area or the desk or wherever we were, fire up the laptop, and I would trade. And, obviously if things went well, it made for a uplifting day. But, when it didn't, you would obsess over it a little bit, and, and it's possible you'd make an extra mistake you wouldn't have made at home. And you, like Brian mentioned, you don't want to kind of, ruin that vacation, because the idea is to come back from that fresh and rejuvenated. So, it's kind of hard when you're a day trader. We're all a little crazy. You're going to think about it on vacation, but, certainly at some point you've got to just shut down and turn it off and move away, if you can, at least for a period of time. So anyway, that's kind of our recommendations, on trading when traveling. It's one of maybe the downsides to being a day trader. You only make money when you're in the markets and active. You may just need to realize that when you're figuring out your profits, you can't multiply it by 52. If you're like, hey, I average this per week, because nobody can maintain this 52 weeks a year, and things are going to come up along the way. All right, so now let's go ahead and move on to a section that we call Tales from the Stupid.
Tales from the Stupid.
All right, so you kind of heard the little audio there, and this is a section that we do call Tales from the Stupid. For those of you familiar with that TV show, Tales from the Crypt, from a number of years back, that's kind of where we got this from. But it's our own personal trading nightmares, things that we've done over the last, since our last podcast that, really was just kind of stupid. And we kind of want to pass that along to you, not our stupidness, but actually hoping that things that we've done, we can kind of share our experiences with you, because trading is all about experience. You can't really learn it in a book. You got to learn it through experience. And so for me, the one that stands out the most is being premature, right? There's never anything good about being premature, but what I'm referring to here is stopping too early in a trade series. And what I mean by this is, we mentioned earlier how we may be trading, the metals, and then we're trading some crude, and then we move into the DAX or the Russell, and, we're having a good day. There is a real high temptation to prematurely stop because we've booked a really good profit, but we really haven't finished our trade plan. We're like, well, we still have another trade to go on the Russell, another trade to go on the DAX. We know the odds are in our favor that trade will work, but it's not guaranteed. So unfortunately, what happens is you start to look at your profit and you start to think, well, what happens if I lose the next two trades on each one? Holy crap, my profit could end up being a loss, and boy, that would kind of ruin my day. So I've noticed something that we've even done recently, is I've exited or stopped, and then I've checked later in the day, and I'm like, oh man, I see those two trades would have worked if I would have just finished the plan. So I think there's a place for quitting early. I think Fridays are sometimes a good time when you've got a good game, maybe not to finish your full plan, because, it's hard to go into the weekend with a loss, especially when you're up a lot and then you blew it in the last few trades. I have no problem with that because psychologically, that matters. I mean, intellectually, it's actually smarter to keep going. But I get the whole psychological thing. It's like when you hear financial people talk about paying off a house. They might be like, well, geez, your mortgage interest rate, you can make more money in your investments, but there's something psychological about just having it done, no matter how low the interest is. It's the same thing, with trading. So that's something that I think, is something that I've done that I've got to get away from, because the reverse is when it's a bad day, we go the distance. I mean, we're going to keep going and going and going, finishing the plan because we're trying to recover. So you don't want to cut yourself short. Don't be premature. Try to finish the plan. Resist the urge to stop because you just want to feel good about your profits. So Brian, that's mine, and how about for you?
Yes, mine comes hot off the press from today's trading session, Mark, as you can attest. And I guess what I would say is focus, focus, focus. And that's something that's easier said than done. Your goal as a trader is to take what is on the chart and execute that in your trading account. And you just have to remain focused on the trade setups and your trade plan 100% of the time. If you simply move away from that focus for a split second, it can literally cost you profits. And so my story from today is this. I have traded thousands of times and placed thousands of trades through the interface that we use. And for whatever reason today, I didn't have my dome set properly. And I went to place the trade, and it went in at the wrong price. I went to adjust that trade, and in that adjustment, I ended up getting in twice the position size that I wanted to. Well, needless to say, it was a downhill spiral from there. And by the time I corrected that issue, it basically cost me the profit of one full winning trade, which is pretty substantial. And so my point there that I want to make is you got to be diligent in maintaining that focus throughout the session. One of the things we talk about here at NetPicks is trying to, trade a time frame for a certain period of time, a couple hours, and that seems like a very small amount of time, but really that's a long time to sit there in front of your chart, staring at that chart and remaining diligent and focused. So I guess I would say don't let distractions get in the way. And I'm talking about split-second distractions. That's all it was for me. The market actually had picked up, and I had to make a very quick decision. And one stray click today cost me pretty big. And so, again, that's my tale from the crypt, or stupid, as we like to call it.
Well, the the good part of the story was you actually invented new profanity that I actually had never heard before.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had to Google some of the words that you use while that was happening, and I can tell you right now some of those words don't even exist. So, if there's any upside, there's that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there you go. New words created.
So maybe that's your genius for the day, but hopefully not. So let's kind of move into our next section, which is our genius, because we already confessed our stupidity. So let's offset this a little bit.
Genius.
All right. So for me, something that I do, we're in the education business. We train traders. We work with traders. We develop systems. We've been doing this for, 17 years now. The one thing that sometimes happens is we'll go ahead and tweak or update or change a system, and without fail, we'll get some complaints from people because they're like, how can you change your system? That means it doesn't work, or it's not effective if you're changing it. And it kind of always drives me crazy because I'm like, there's no market that's ever going to stay static for us. If we're stubborn and we don't ever want to adjust or tweak or update our system, we're not going to maintain our performance. I mean, it's just one of those things that whatever we did a few years ago is not guaranteed to work in today's environment. So I kind of consider, if I'm going to say the genius, is don't be inflexible that way. Don't be stubborn. Don't feel it's actually a positive that you never update and change your trading system, because if you don't, my guess is you probably do not have good or consistent results. And I'm somebody who's kind of obsessed in a way with always trying to fine-tune. I never rest on the laurels of what I'm doing because I don't trade 100% profitable. I have a definite cut of losing trades. Situations come up day to day, new things I've never seen. So I'm the kind of person who's always looking to discover and explore. And I would say for a trader to be successful, you really have to be that way, or you're going to have to work with, whether it's people like NetPicks, like us, or somebody else who's going to do that for you. So if you're not stubborn and you tweak and you test, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. There is, of course, a limit where you could overdo that. You don't want to be testing and back testing every single day and changing all your parameters every day, but there is a time and place to make moves and just not to feel like it's a sign of weakness when you trade. So for me, Brian, that's what stands out, and it's something I've been working on a lot in our current systems, and it's really been making a difference. So I'll pass on to you.
All right, thanks, Mark. My genius is, well, first of all, let me give you a little background. I come from the computer background. I owned a computer consulting firm for many years, for 20 years. And one of the things we did in that capacity, in that business, was contingency planning. And so that's my genius for today. And one of the things that I always recommend traders have is the ability to manage their trades if something happens to their primary connection. So that happened to me today in today's session. In fact, Mark, you had stepped aside for a little bit, and I didn't even tell you this. My internet went down for 60 seconds, roughly. And I had to then switch my internet over. It's a simple move of my Cat5 cable to another internet provider, and I was up within 20 seconds. And I think that's important because the last thing you want to do as a trader is lose control of your trade when you're in it. And so along with that, let me say, too, we always recommend that you place OCO orders when you're trading. Never be in the market without a target and a stop, because if you lose control, like happened to me today, and you can't reconnect very quickly, then at least that trade can't get any worse than those parameters that you've set. And so, and then also I would recommend, I've never had to do this, but have your broker on speed dial. Be ready in case you need to take that manual action to call your broker and affect your trade, that you have that capability also. So that's my genius for today. Contingency plan. Make sure you have the ability to connect to the internet if your primary internet connection goes down.
It's almost like you should treat it like a pit crew, like a NASCAR pit crew, and consider actually timing yourself from the time that internet goes down. Do you actually know the steps you'd have to take to bring up another internet, whether it's, that external card like I was talking about. That's a great thing about trading when traveling. If you have that card, that's one of my main backups. Brian's got cable modem, and he's got DSL. I rely on 2 different cell Wi-Fi connections, as well as, of course, cable modem. So I feel I have backups, but I sometimes have to think through how long would it take me to get this thing up and running, and geez, can my computer even connect with a wireless? What if it doesn't have a wireless card? It seems kind of dumb, but it's amazing until it happens and you're panicking. You need to be able to do that. I would say 60 seconds, 90 seconds to make that change, because these markets are just not going to wait for us. That's for sure. They could care less. They're just going to take our money, whether we're having problems or not. And your broker certainly is not going to go ahead and refund those losses because you had a technical problem, including if they have a problem as well. So definitely really good points on that. So Brian, this is kind of the portion of the podcast where we move into our interview. And over the last several podcasts, we've been interviewing some authors, best-selling authors of various trading books, which has been great. But we wanted to bring on a little different guest this time, and we have Chris from fxtradingreviews.com, which is fxtradingreviews with an S on the end, .com. And Chris is really the publisher, the writer, the person behind this website. We have so many people who are interested in trading Forex, maybe day trading or swing trading Forex, hear all about these robots. A lot of people maybe have used robots, and we really wanted to bring Chris on and talk to him about what a lot of us have been, hearing about, talking about, etc., and kind of talking to us about, the pros and the cons of this whole side of the business. So with that, Chris, are you with us?
I am here. Thanks for having me.
Great. So, Chris, what I wanted to do was sort of just ask you a few questions, and you know what? Maybe the first thing is tell us a little bit about what FX Trading Reviews does. I mean, what's the whole purpose of your website?
Great. Yeah, thank you. As you said, FX Trading Reviews is the site, and really what we're geared for is providing a platform to give a unbiased insight into various Forex trading systems. As you know, Forex is a great product to trade, and whenever there's a great product and a great way to make money, unfortunately that also can lead to a variety of different scams and fake products out there. So what I've tried to do with this site is really provide an unbiased view where our customers, our readers, can get this feedback, both my feedback as well as even users commenting on, what are the legitimate systems, what are the platforms that are going to provide good results for them, and if they're going to make an investment not only in buying the product but also their own money, then they really want to do that research, and that's really the platform we're trying to provide.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the coolest thing about the website is how you run these live demo accounts, and then you even go a step further and you actually put your money into accounts and you run these systems and you report back in real time the trade results. I mean, for me, that's really cool. Is that something that you guys try to do as much as you can?
Yeah, it really is, and it's really been something that's been, as you said, very popular with our customers, because rather than just having somebody write about a product, and again, you never know where their bias may be, by actually running true live demos or even putting our own money into products, the client is able to see for themselves exactly how those different platforms are performing. So we do have both packages that are running in demo, and that just means it's not our real money, but it's executing those trades. And then what we do is we really try to look closely at which of those robots from demo are worthy of putting our own money into, and then that's when we'll move it to our live money. And you can see we've got a variety that are trading our live money, and the results are right there. It's pulling those in real time, so no fudging the results. They're definitely real.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you see as far as like when you test all these systems? I have a feeling that a lot of them don't play out per the marketing hype. I mean, maybe just as a guess, do you have any idea like what percentage tend to have a chance to be successful, which versus like how many tend to fail?
I would say your hunch is absolutely right. Unfortunately, as I alluded to in my opening comments, this industry is ripe with scams, and every day, I'm on a lot of different mailing lists, and targeted by a lot of these different new robots and Forex products, and every day we'll see a new one come across our desk, and we do our best to investigate some and do our research, run them in demo, but the claims definitely outweigh the actual results, and that's really something that we try to provide for our customers is really help steer them through the clutter, and point them to the ones that are legitimate. On a percentage basis, I would have to say even if you were to just go to our site and look at our results, less than half of the robots that we've even been running in demo are seeing positive results, and that's after we've already gone through and wiped away some of the ones that aren't even worthy of being in demo.
Yeah, that's what I figure. So give the people listening maybe some tips on how they can on their own. I mean, obviously, I kind of always think of FX Trading Reviews. It's like the consumer reports of this business. But what are some things they can do, red flags that you see, let's say, in the marketing, the hype, the fluff, to look out for, or vice versa? What are things that legitimize and make you more of a believer, at least up front, before you start testing?
I would say, nowadays with great sites like MyFXBook that really allow you to track and see real-time results publicly, that has definitely become a separator for me of the legitimate versus the not so legitimate robots. The guys that are actually able to, stand behind their work, feel comfortable in showing you their results. All of us know there are going to be drawdowns, and there's going to be periods where it's not performing at a peak. And the guys that are really, have that confidence to stand behind their work, they're going to put right on their sales page a link to something like a MyFX book where you yourself can track and see their results. And the ones that don't provide any results immediately, I'm going to have a leery eye towards. But even the ones that may try to trick you, and by that I mean it may look like it's a real account, but really they're screenshots, and so you can't drill in and go actually view those reports. They're just showing you a screenshot. You have no idea what that screenshot is really showing you. So the ones that show us real-time results are definitely the ones that I'm most in favor of and really add a lot of credibility to the product.
Yeah, you were showing me some of those sites where it was shocking almost, where they'll go ahead and take like a MyFX book screenshot, but it's dummied up and it's static and it looks amazing. I mean, these people put so much time and effort, but it's just time and effort into the fraud. So I think that's a great point. Make sure you're linking into a real live, you're going off to a third-party site that you can verify and you know that that's real. I guess another thing would be if you go in and you do buy something, I'm sure you would typically recommend that they start in demo mode or jump right into live money, or how should somebody start up a robot if they think that they've at least checked your site out and want to start with something?
Yeah, anytime, frankly, that you're buying a new system, I would highly recommend running it in a demo period where you can really get used to the system, see the results, see the products that are being traded, and get comfortable with those results. And we've even recommended, as a conservative player, to run it for 30 days. It's going to be real money once you flip that switch. So make sure it gets those results that you want to see. And that really points back to when you're looking at the various robots, make sure these guys have a money-back guarantee. Because the last thing you want is to buy something that you may have gotten lured in by a slick sales page, like you said. With they're putting a lot of time and money into these because they want to take your money. But the last thing you want is you make that investment and then you turn around and the product doesn't work and you're stuck with that investment.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think the good news is, at least going to your site, I see that some do work. Most don't, but at least it's reassuring to know that there are some that work. And at your site, just for the people who know, since we kind of wrap up this interview here, you have a giveaway, right, if they go to FX Trading Reviews?
We do. Yeah, we put together a guide last year, at the end of last year, that really we wanted to do accomplish a couple things. One was publish a guide that's really going to give you end-to-end tips. And this is for the basic, the beginner, I would say, Forex trader that may not have a lot of experience in this market, and offer tips on how to get started, good ways to make money, but also even the experienced trader. There's some great tips in here and real deep insight. So the guide includes that, but one thing that we included in this as well is we did a real deep analysis across many other sites. Of course, I'm biased. I believe FX Trading Reviews offers the best quality reviews, but there are also a number of different sites out there, and we really wanted to see how are robots running at some of these other sites. And so what we did is we did a deep analysis across a variety of different sites and tried to see what robots were running at these sites to kind of measure popularity, and then what results they were getting. And that allowed us to create our own proprietary score to really rate these robots not on just our own demo, but also looking across a multitude of sites. And that is included as part of that guide as well. So when you go to fxtradingreviews.com, you'll immediately be offered the chance to receive it, and it's free. We don't charge for this, as well as any other content on the site.
Yeah, so it's really cool. Just the cost is an email, and it's certainly well worth it. Like you also said, there's so much great information on the site. So people should definitely do that if you have interest in Forex or the whole robot EA world. FX Trading Reviews would be a great place to go. So Chris, I appreciate you joining us today and giving us all this great information.
Very good. It was great to be here. Thank you.
Okay, well, great. That was an awesome interview with Chris at FX Trading Reviews. Take advantage of his offer there as well if you're interested in Forex. It's been a real good podcast. I think we've covered a lot of cool information. If you're interested in our next author interview, you can always go to netpicks.com/interview, all lowercase, and you can sign up for that. We usually have one every month, every other month. And also, if you just go to netpicks.com, netpicks.com, there's always some great information there. Like we mentioned before, a lot of it is available to you free as well. Just put in your email, and we've got some great tips for you. So, Brian, really appreciate it. Thanks for joining me in this podcast. And
Sure.
Look forward to the next one.